and I thought, wow, this is awesome. I said, I'm buying one of these. What's up, guys? It's Zach here with Vantage Point Drones. What we're going to be covering in this video tonight is going to be a overall spotlight guide, and then also a comparison between the JZ T60 and the JZ T60R. So guys, if you're watching for our pet rescue training program, what this is going to be here is your beginner guide for spotlights. So if you're new to drones, whether that be on the Mavic 3 or your Matrice 30T, this is going to be your beginner guide here for your spotlight. Tonight we have the 30T for example, and I'll cover some things for the Mavic 3. Guys, we're going to be covering the JZ spotlights. If you go with the CZI, that's fine too. We just don't cover CZI stuff. You know, my personal opinion, you know, I don't sell JZ or anything like that. You know, just my personal opinion is that, you know, what you're getting from JZ for the price point, I really prefer to go with JZ here. You know, as far as I'm aware, the only major benefits you get from moving up to CZI is gimbal stabilization. However, I've found it to be not necessary. The JZ T60 here is the widest and brightest spotlight currently on the market. So because that spotlight is so wide, I found that gimbal stabilization is not exactly necessary. Could you benefit from gimbal stabilization? Obviously. Does CZI make good products? Obviously. I just don't think it's worth the extra money. So with that being said, guys, we're going to start with some general stuff for your T60 spotlight. Once you get the spotlight out of the box, it's going to come with some mounting hardware, some screws, and some tools. I'm going to show you my mounting. It's already installed. You're going to see 4 screws, 2 down here and 2 up here. You're going to install your bracket with the button release towards the bottom, just like you see here. Once you get that bracket on, you're just going to slide your spotlight down the rail system and make sure it locks into place. Guys, when you slide this light down the rail system, you want to double check that this is on there secure. We see a lot of crashes because people put on the spotlight and they think it's on there correctly and it's not, but then it comes off mid-flight and you snap propellers and you end up having a crash. Once you know your spotlight is on safely, go ahead and plug it into the USB. Also, guys, keep in mind that these spotlights do need to be activated through JZ, through their website. Your spotlight will come with instructions in a little packet as far as how to activate your spotlight. Don't be intimidated by this. It takes a few minutes and you'll be all set. But you do have to activate these spotlights prior to use. So now that our spotlight is on and activated, we're ready for takeoff. We're going to put this drone up in the air and go over a few basic features on the JZ T60.
Taking off.
So guys, now that we're up in the air, we're going to go ahead and take note to the things on our remote. When your spotlight is plugged in, you'll notice in the bottom right corner here, you have a PSDK menu that populates. Go ahead and select that menu. By default, the first thing you'll notice here is that the JZ Spotlight's brightness setting is turned down to 10. If you look at the top left icon, looks like a little sun. That's going to be your brightness. So go ahead and select that, and you more than likely want to have that turned all the way up. Okay. The icon right below it is going to be the pitch of, or the angle per se, of your light. That is going to automatically adjust based on your gimbal. So the JZ T60 does move up and down with the gimbal. It does not move left and right. So when I rotate the gimbal down, you'll see the angle of my spotlight is going down. When I move it up, it goes up. So simple enough. The next icon here below is going to be for your automatic tracking. So this will automatically move your light with your gimbal. If you want that to be separate, if you don't want them to sync with each other, you can just turn that off, and then you'll be able to select this icon here in the middle that shows your angle, and you'll be able to adjust it manually. Then once you want to return to it syncing automatically, go ahead and just select the button here and it'll automatically bring you back. Next, you have a strobe feature right here in your bottom right corner, and then you have your on and off selector in the bottom right. If you guys stick around for the rest of the video, we're going to show you how to hotkey that on and off switch to the back of your RC Plus remote. So guys, now that you have a pretty good idea of the menu options for your spotlight, let's go ahead and check out how the T60 performs. So guys, we'll go ahead and take a look at some things from an altitude of about 300 feet. Right now it's summertime in Northeast Ohio. Our vegetation is pretty dense, so it could be a little bit challenging finding something, but I bet if we go out to one of these fields, we'll find a deer. See, here's something right over here that just ran off. So here we are at about 300 feet, 308. Hit it with the light, and we got a coyote. But guys, right away, see, it's a really bright spotlight. That coyote's running even further now, and we lost it. But very bright light. Like I said, guys, it's the brightest, widest spotlight on the market. Here's another example at 200 feet. Not sure what this is. Okay, that's a bunny rabbit. Now guys, here's something that I want to point out about the JZ T60 or any other spotlight that you're using. If you're using a spotlight, one of your settings that you want to change is going to be your night scene mode settings. So the way you change your night scene mode settings is, you'll see here, you want to make sure you're on your zoom camera, then select this icon here in the top right, select the three dots right here. You'll see here night scene mode. Right now it's set to auto. Go ahead and set that to off. What that'll do is it'll allow you to see in colors. The reason why we want to be seeing in colors, especially in animal search and rescue, is if you're looking for a black dog, you're going to see that it's black, or maybe a better color example, because if you're in night scene mode, it's going to be black, white, and gray. So let's just say you're looking for like a dark brown golden retriever, and you're trying to see something through a little bit of foliage, so turning off night scene mode will help you see those precise colors. We track a lot of animals that have collars on them, and maybe these collars are red, blue, green, purple. So using that night scene mode will allow you, see how much easier we can see this little bunny rabbit when we kind of had a hard time at first. So you want to make sure that you have night scene mode turned off. So guys, next I'm going to be showing you a few different things. We're going to go over how to make sure that your spotlight is actually lined up with your camera gimbal. We're going to show you how to calibrate that, and then we're going to show you how to adjust to windage. So if you have wind giving you trouble with your spotlight, we're going to show you two different remedies that you can use to solve that problem. And then in addition to that, we're going to be going over a common bug that I see a lot of people having with these spotlights and how you can fix it. It's been an issue that I've been dealing with for about 2 years. So far, there's no fix that I can see, and we're going to show you guys how to remedy that tonight. So guys, to start our calibration for our pitch, you're going to go ahead and take off your drone. Some people recommend that you can do this inside, which that is fine. I think doing it inside will get you close. I recommend doing it out in the field. So guys, once you're out in the field, go ahead and find a reference point, something that you can use to look at. I'm going to use this beehive here. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your point of interest. go up to a height that you commonly are flying at. You know, I tend to find myself around 250 feet to 300 feet, give or take, you know, depending on conditions and terrain and all kinds of other different things. So we're going to go ahead and set it at 250. Go ahead and hit your zoom camera, turn your light on, and then zoom out to where you can see your whole entire light. Go ahead and go to your settings menu, go down to your PSDK menu, and then you can adjust the angle of your pitch with this percentage meter here. So if your light's looking something like this, the beehive's all the way up top, but we should be center. Go ahead and just go back to that pitch adjuster here and play around with it until you are centered and adjusted. So that looks pretty good to me. Maybe I could go a little bit higher. Maybe I'll go bump it up to like 61, and that looks pretty good to me. So that's how you adjust that and make sure that that's centered. I've had to do that a couple times now. I'm not sure if it's affected by windage or something of the sort, or maybe just being bumped or something like that, but that's real simple to adjust. You can do it manually, you can do it out in the field, you can do it while you're on a job. Not hard to do at all, guys. Next, I want to talk about windage. So you can see here, I got only about 15 mile an hour winds, so I probably won't be able to exactly replicate this issue for you guys, but when you guys have wind, around 20 to 25 miles an hour, you'll see that the spotlight can be a little bit off. You can see here when I'm zoomed out, it is going a little bit to the left. So you guys have to understand that these spotlights on the top of the drone are fixed. They're not on a gimbal like your camera is. So when your drone is adjusting to the wind, that spotlight is moving. So guys, what you're gonna see when you have this problem with wind is it's gonna look something like this. If I could replicate it, you can just tell that your light is being blown off to the side, and you're trying to look at something, in the center. So there's a few things that you can do to adjust to this and to help mitigate this. And the first one is
recenter gimbal pan.
You want to turn your drone into the wind. So look at your wind reader here, southwest wind. So we want to go ahead and just adjust our drone to where that arrow is pointing down, which means that the wind is blowing towards our drone. Once you do that, that typically resolves most of my problems with my spotlight as far as having heavy winds. So keep that in mind if you're flying at night and you experience that issue. Another thing that you can do is if your spotlight's blowing to the left or to the right, just keep in mind that if you are flying a 30T, you can turn your camera gimbal left and right. If you're a Mavic user or a Matrice 4T user, unfortunately you can't turn your gimbal left and right. I don't find myself doing this solution too often. I tend to just rotate my drone, but sometimes the terrain or maybe like a tree's in my way and it prevents me from moving or looking at something from that certain angle, so I will turn my camera gimbal. So just to kind of show you, what that's going to look like I said, I don't really have high winds right now, so I can't really replicate it, but it's going to look something like this, and all you're going to be doing is using your wheel here to manipulate your camera gimbal, and you're just going to move that gimbal to where your light is, and then you can turn your drone, not turning your gimbal here, just turning your drone and seeing whatever you need to see. So guys, now I want to go over a common bug that I'm seeing with JZ spotlights. I don't know if CZI has this problem or not, but I'm going to go ahead and replicate the problem for you, and then I'm going to show you why it happened and how you fix it. Okay, so I just replicated this issue, and I'm going to take your attention to the remote, and you're going to see when you select your PSDK menu, it looks like this. Something is wrong. All your buttons are missing, and you don't know how to fix it. You try to land your drone, unplug your spotlight, plug it back in, that doesn't fix it. Turn your drone off, turn it back on, that doesn't fix it. So let me start by explaining to you how you got here, because most people don't even know why this happens. So the reason why it happens is anytime you are in your Pilot app and you go back to your home page, you go back this far, that's what causes the problem. Okay, once you go back into your Pilot app, so you know what people do is they'll go back to the menu to either change a setting, or they'll open up their gallery. Maybe they're trying to view a screen recording, to see what was going on, maybe a direction that your animal went. I know I've done that. One of the things that we do, if we're tracking an animal through like some dense vegetation, or maybe it's a little bit sunny out and we didn't really have a choice and we lose an animal, if we're tracking an animal and we lose it, what I'll do is I'll go back into my gallery and I'll watch the screen recording to see if there's something that I missed. Having that second or third watch at the moment where I lose the animal has actually helped me see something that I didn't see in real time. And then I go back into my Pilot app and I notice that my spotlight's not working. So you're here, your PSDK menu is not working. Guys, the solution to this is just turn off your remote. Turn off your remote, turn it back on. Once you do that with your remote, then the problem will be resolved. Just keep in mind, anytime you're flying, if you do back out of that Pilot app, then you will lose your PSDK menu. So guys, here's the part that you guys have been waiting for. I want to talk about the JZ T60R. It is a near infrared spotlight. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, think about when you look at a security camera or like a Ring doorbell camera, you kind of see that red glow in those lights. That's infrared light, and your 30Ts can pick up on this infrared light. So what this essentially is a just large infrared spotlight, which will allow you to see in the dark when using your night scene mode. I want to take a quick second to thank the guys over at Priority One Drones for loaning us this light. We've been using this light for a couple months now, and we've had some successful recoveries using this light. That being said, there are some things that I absolutely love about this light, and there are some things that I really do not like about this light. So we're going to go into detail about all of that, and I'm also just going to show you, how bright this light is, how effective this light is, and all that jazz. I know a lot of people have those kinds of questions. So guys, let's put the JZ T60R spotlight up in the air and let's see how it performs. So guys, I want to take a look at things from a few different heights. Let's do 100, 200, and 300 feet. So here we go at 100 feet.
Recenter gimbal pan.
With the near infrared spotlight, you have to understand that this light is only going to work when night scene mode is turned on. So you have to have night scene mode turned on. Let's go back into your settings. Got to make sure you're in your zoom camera. Turn night scene mode on. So we're here at 100 feet, and we're going to take a look, see what it looks like at 100 feet. So obviously 100 feet looks very good. Now in night scene mode, you're not going to get color, so this is going to be a problem, and it's something that I'll talk about later. Next, I'll show you at about 200 feet. This is on a bunny. So 200 feet, still very, very bright, even at 200 feet. Let's bump it up to 300 feet here, looking at a bunny. Okay, good enough. 300 feet, still super, super bright, guys. Jay-Z makes really bright stuff, you know, and this T60R is no exception. Let's go even higher. Let's go to 350 feet. How about 390 feet? So there we go. Even at 390 feet, you know, I can still see this object. And this is a bunny. You know, when you're doing pet search and rescue, you know, maybe you'll be looking for a few dogs or cats that are this size, but you probably shouldn't be looking at 390 feet anyway. But, you know, looking at something like a dog at 390 feet, you know, you're going to be able to see it a lot better. So just taking a look here at 380 feet, here's me, here's my two dogs. So guys, you know, this light's bright. You should have no doubt in your mind that this light is bright. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to land and I'm going to kind of share my thoughts and my experience on this light. So guys, my first time I ever took out the T60R, we were on a cat search, and I primarily had intentions on using this infrared spotlight mostly for cat searches, because, you know, typically when you're looking for cats, you know, you're you know, looking up on people's property, you know, along people's house lines, you know, public sidewalks, and all kinds of stuff. So, you know, I figured that this infrared spotlight would allow me to be much less intrusive, you know, as far as, you know, shining a light, you know, in people's areas here. So, you know, we went out, and, you know, my first search with it was at a trailer park. So we go out to the trailer park, and, you know, I found this cat in like minutes. It was just luck, and we found this cat really quick, and just, I never shined a light anywhere on anyone, and I thought, wow, I thought this is awesome. I said, I'm buying one of these, you know. And then we had a couple more successful cat rescues, you know, and every time we did those cat searches, it was fantastic. But the more and more I used it, you know, I too commonly ran into a few issues. Really, it's mainly just one, and it's the fact that you cannot see in color. Guys, it's so crucial to see in color sometimes. You know, we did multiple searches for smaller dogs shortly after that. We did a lot of searches for small dogs, and, you know, what I was running into was, you know, I would come up on, you know, areas of like heavy brush, or, you know, very tall grass and things like that, where I would be taking a look at something and, you know, I couldn't 100% tell what it was. Or, you know, maybe, guys, I had to be a little bit higher up, and, you know, I'm trying to take a look at something at like 350 feet that's in some brush. You know, because I'm not seeing in color, that did sometimes hinder me from positively seeing what I'm trying to see here. You know, being able to see in color is just super important to me, and, you know, what we do here with the rescues. I just think it's a must to have to see in color. But, you know, being so incognito, and, you know, not having to put that light pressure on these animals, because that's another thing too that's so big on the infrared spotlight, is that, you know, when we locate these lost animals, you know, beforehand we would locate them with the spotlight, and then we would turn off the light so that we weren't putting any light pressure on them, and then we would just monitor them on our thermal camera.
I'm only going to keep the light on for a second because I want to keep them there.
Oh my
Okay.
God, that's not...
Okay.
But what we can do now with the infrared light, we can constantly view these animals, you know, in the zoom camera, and they have no idea that there's any light being shined on them. So guys, you know, would I recommend buying this T60R spotlight? You know, yes, but, you know, I'll add to my answer here. I think it is a must to have them both. And, you know, if I could only have one, I'd probably have to pick my regular spotlight, only because I would just hate to miss something. I just couldn't live with that. But to add to that, you know, I'd say easily, without a doubt, the benefits that you get from the T60R, from having an infrared light, it's so worth it to have both. You know, so if it ever is in the cards for you to have both, that's what I would do. You know, and for our rural searches, lost dog searches in rural areas, we're probably just going to use our regular spotlight. If we're searching in residential areas, we're probably going to use the infrared light. Another thing that we intend on doing, and something that you guys can do if you end up using both, if you're in a rural area and you do find your missing pet, well, then the next time you go back for your battery change, come back and switch out to your infrared spotlight. Now you can monitor that dog on your zoom camera without putting light pressure on. So guys, I hope this helps you have a better understanding about what these infrared spotlights are all about. Definitely recommend, guys, getting one of these lights. I think it's an absolute game changer, and I'm super excited that these lights are coming out now. I really am hoping to see a dual light combo. I'd like to see the regular T60 spotlight and the R kind of in a 2-for-1 combo per se. That would be a big deal for me, something that I would buy. If you guys like this video, check out our page, check out our website. We have a full online training program for animal search and rescue. If you want to use your thermal drones to help rescue lost animals, guys, we have a full-blown training program on this. We're at over 15 different modules right now, with topics ranging from search tips and tricks, what settings to have. If you guys want to know things like pricing structure, or how to market your company to more clients, then be sure to check out this full online program through our webpage. Thank you guys for watching.